I'm really delighted to talk to Mark. When did you, would you say, Mark, you've been involved in Fourth Line since 1999, is that correct?
That is correct, every year since 1999.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think it's fair to say that you and Justin would be among the favorite people out here that people want to come and see. Would that be fair to say?
That was a very awkward question.
I know, sorry.
I would like to think that.
Well, I think it's true though. Music, theater. Now, what did you study either at university?
I did, yes. So for me, music came first. I went to University of Western Ontario, and majored in tuba, and that's how it started. Yeah.
And when was that?
That would be a while ago. 97 to 2001.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what did you when you major in tuba? How do you do like a final presentation or something, or how does that? Do you have to write your own piece, or how does that work?
No, you don't have to write your own piece, but you do have to perform for every university is different. But at Western, you had to perform what they call a jury at the end of every year, and so you would perform for other professors other than your own. So like your tuba teacher, you got lessons from, he would not be on the piano. It would be different teachers and professors, and it's quite nerve-wracking actually. But my tuba teacher at university didn't like scales, which I hate as well, but apparently they were required for the jury, and he never taught me any. So I got to the jury and they said, "Can you play this scale?" And I said, "Oh, my teacher told me I didn't need to do those." And they let it go. It was so good.
Because of that teacher,
Absolutely. Thanks, Claudio. Wherever you are.
And how did you do?
I did fine.
Good.
Yeah, went really well. Because I knew the pieces, but the scales, I could have done the scales somewhat. But I just didn't want to do them, so I said I didn't know them.
Wow, I'll remember that someday.
Yeah.
Don't do scales.
No.
How did you get, so when you started to work, was music the first thing you worked at? Leading choirs and playing music, or?
Yeah, the first, basically right out of university, I worked with, started with New Horizons bands as a low brass coach. And I started doing that for a while, and then I really got into conducting, and that has become my main gig. So from mainly September to the end of May, I am a full-time conductor.
So where are some of the places you conduct?
So the place is, so the band is New Horizons, and basically if anyone's never heard of New Horizons and you want to join, shameless plug. New Horizons is an organization that was started in Rochester, New York, by a professor named Roy Ernst, and it is basically it's a band that is for people who are retired to learn band instruments for the first time, or if you hadn't played since high school and haven't played and now you're retired and have the time, we teach band instruments. So you don't need to know how to read music at all. We teach you how to read music. And the band in Peterborough is one of the larger ones. It's about 180 members. And there's 5 different bands, and I'm in charge of the beginning band because I enjoy beginners. I kind of like the noise they make. It might not appeal to some people, but I love mistakes. I think they're hilarious, and I tell people to love their mistakes. It's not so good in theater, but in music when you're learning, it's good.
I just had an image of a retired couple, where the one person's learning violin and the other person isn't, and they have to listen to that.
Yeah, we don't have strings.
Okay.
Our equivalent is the saxophone. There's no saxophone players, is there? But saxophone is one of those instruments. It's a little jarring when you're first learning it, but
so these folks here might be interested. What kind of instruments would you recommend that people get started with if they wanted to get into something like that?
Trombone. Trombone. Oh, there you go. I'm a low brass person myself, but the first instrument I played is the one I recommend, and that is the euphonium. Now, some people don't even know that word very much, but it's like a baby tuba. It's a very melodious instrument, and the first sound you make on that instrument is passable. Like it's actually quite a nice sound right away. It's hard to master the instrument, but it's if you want to sound good right away, that's the instrument I recommend. Now, other instruments like French horn are very hard to learn, but once you get it, it's extremely satisfying. Because I know a lot of horn players, they want to quit right away. And for months they say, I'm going to quit, I can't do this. And then after about 8 months, or a year almost, all of a sudden it's like you cannot pry it into their hands. Like so it's every instrument's different. And flute is kind of a neat little instrument because it takes more air than any other instrument, even though it's so little. Because when you play a flute, half the air escapes when you blow into the mouthpiece. The air goes around it rather than right through it. So flute actually is difficult.
Do you need a lot of air to be good at this, or is it just a technique of how you blow it here?
No, you don't. Any person who has air.
We all have to start
play. Yes.
But what is the hardest one to get a good sound out of right off the bat?
I'm going to say French horn and oboe.
Wow.
But I like both those instruments. But first, yeah, they would be the ones that are a little tricky to listen to off the top.
And when people learn these instruments, how do they react to being able to do this? Are they really shocked they're able to do it, or do they find great pleasure in it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, when they first play, it's like the cacophony of sound you get when you have 45 people blowing an instrument for the first time. It's quite something. I usually like to record it and play it to them at the end of the year because the difference, it's unbelievable how much you learn in just 1 year of music if you're having fun. And that's my key if I'm conducting. I believe that if you're having fun and you'll learn more if you're enjoying it. So I don't like to put too much pressure on them when they're starting, and just enjoy music for what it is, and they just love it. It becomes a big social thing too.
Yeah, and if you get up there and the best you can do is not make a mistake, that's not very rewarding, is it? So I can see what you mean about mistakes. It's not like, and as soon as I do something wrong, it's going to be terrible.
No, well, I always make this analogy that if an orchestra has 50 members, even a very good orchestra, each member makes, 10 mistakes in a song, like whether they forget a dynamic mark, and these are good players. If you add that up, that's 500 mistakes per song. Did the audience hear that? And the answer is no.
Would that even occur in symphony? Like
Absolutely.
Symphony orchestra?
Absolutely. Because you can make a mistake in breathing, phrasing, and there's so many mistakes you can make, but the audience doesn't hear hardly anything unless they're, there's some blatant mistakes, like everyone else will stop playing, you keep playing. You'll hear those ones pretty good, but generally, and even then, if you laugh it off, the audience is right with you, for sure. Not that that's happened to me.
No, not you, Mark. No. So you're doing all this music, and it's taking up so much of your time. And how did you? I mean, I remember you coming into Fairplay here in '99. Was that one of the first theater things you did?
It was. It was the first. Well, the first real any acting I did was in grade 7 and 8. I did a couple plays with at North Cavan. I live in Cavan, which is right near here. And Gene Axel was the teacher. And we did I think it was Tom Sawyer maybe, and another little play, but that was it, nothing major. And then I was off into Musicland for a while, because in high school you had to choose, at least when I was growing up, it was drama, art, or music. You couldn't take both. And at that age, I was certainly not thinking drama, because I was very shy.
You're an introvert.
I'm an introvert, yes. So, and bullying didn't help, but getting bullied.
Oh, getting bullied.
Yes, I wasn't the bully.
Where were you getting bullied? School?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Public school or high school?
Yes. No, but anyway, the point is that at that point in my life, music was it. And then, after I was done university, is when I came here. It'd be halfway done. It'd be 99. And I started with music here. And then the acting thing started to appear.
Was it here first or in some of the theaters in Peterborough first?
It was here first. The first acting would have been in 2001, Cabin Blazers.
Okay.
I think that would have been the first.
And you had a small role in that, right? Like,
Yeah, I was a Catholic in that one, Charlie McCarty. And yeah, so I started with that, and I thought this is great. I really enjoyed it, and so I had kind of a unique little thing in that I started theater outdoors, whereas most people start their theater career indoors and have to learn how to project later. You know, when they come outside.
now you have to learn.
I need to learn how to be quiet.
That's what they say if you do play indoors after being out here. They say, can you just quiet down a bit?
Yeah, because the mic starts feeding back, and yeah. But yeah, so that was it. And then from there I got into theaters like St. James Players and Theater Guild, because they were more sort of the musical theater. And I would do that during the year and do the fourth line in the summer.
You've done a wide range of musical characters, like in musicals, haven't you?
I have, yeah.
Could you talk about a couple of those that are particularly memorable for you?
Yeah, well, I'll mention one because my director of that show is actually sitting over there. Fiddler on the Roof. I was Tevye in Fiddler on the Roof, that was a huge role, but a fantastic role. I really liked it because usually, for whatever reason, I'm given the extremes of roles. Usually I am either the fatherly Tevye type, you know, or Daddy Warbucks. I was Daddy Warbucks and Annie. You know, like very kind-hearted. And then you get what you'll see later tonight is my other side, which is the villain, you know, the very extreme anger person. So
one or the other.
One or the other. I don't get much in between. I get the extremes, which is actually really fun to do. But yeah, what was another one? Amos Hart in Chicago, Mr. Cellophane. So he was sort of a very timid character.
When an actor sings, what's the difference between an actor singing and a singer acting, do you think? I mean, how would you consider yourself?
That is a very good question. I'm not sure I know the answer. I would say that the closest thing I can say is just give an example. I think a singer acting is more like opera to me, whereas an actor singing is more Broadway. That's sort of what I would say. You know, where I think a singer acting is more they want to get the music right first and foremost, and the acting is sort of separate. Whereas the other is they want to get the acting right, and they can portray it through singing.
And they'll be forgiven if they're not technically perfect or something.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's the biggest difference.
And what would you call yourself?
I consider myself actor singer.
Okay.
Even though I started singing earlier than acting, I love acting through music. And plus, I think it adds a little bit of a character. I think it was Andrea Bocelli said that when he has to perform an opera piece or sing in a solo, he gets nervous. But if he's a character, he doesn't. Because you can sort of hide behind that character. And I find that the same way. As when I'm in character, I'm not nervous at all. But if you're yourself, there's a little more, it's just a little more
Mark
nerve-wracking.
Hiscock's up there singing, it's a different thing.
Yeah, I mean, just a little more nerve. I mean, you get used to it after a while. And you kind of turn that nervousness into adrenaline, and it works. But yeah, no, I'd say you're definitely more nervous as yourself than you are as a character. I think that.
What about your relationship to the audience, like comparing, say, Fourth Line and the way it works here to an indoor production, like Fiddler on the Roof? Is it the same, or is it a little different? The way
I'd say it's different in the sense that out here you can see your audience. So I'm telling this to you, I can see when you're looking at your program, for example. I can see, no, but when you're indoors, there's spotlights on you, and you literally cannot see the audience. So in a way, that can make you less nervous, saying, there's no one out there, it's just me and the, or out here, it's like, oh, they're right there, you can see them right up close. But I like them both ways. I kind of like seeing the audience myself.
Sometimes out here I find when it's really sunny and the sun's in your eyes,
that's true.
it kind of blinds you to the audience. But in a cloudy day like today, you can see everybody.
Absolutely, that's right. Yeah.
Wow. Part of Tevye, like, what would you say would be the most challenging role you've ever taken on, and then the one that was the most gratifying to make it work?
Most challenging role. I would say, that's a tough one. I didn't find Tevye as challenging as it should have been. Like, in a way. Like, he has a lot of lines.
Did you relate to him?
And he's, I just think he was so well written that when plays are really well written, the words just come flowing and there's like a rhythm to the lines. Yeah. And a lot of your plays are
more
like this, Robert. There's a certain rhythm to line, and I think that's probably my music background. I'm sort of like a rhythmic actor. There's a rhythm that when the lines flow and have a nice rhythm, I find them easier to memorize.
Yeah.
I would say.
I think Morgan Freeman said, I think it was Driving Miss Daisy, where he said it was like putting on a really nice suit to go. It was just because the way his part was written in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just feel comfortable in it.
Yeah, I think the same thing. So.
Yeah, and that's a big debate. What do actors really do? Are they creative artists or are they interpreting artists? By that I mean, are they creating something in front of an audience, or are they a medium to allow the text to come to the audience? So they're kind of Mr. In Between. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're kind of they're servants in a way, because they serve the director, they serve the costume design, they serve the set design, they serve the script, and they sort of serve the audience. So it's a kind of selfless job, even though that sounds weird to say, because you think of actors being the ultimate ego people. Some are. Yeah. But it's an interesting thing. Sure. I know, like, even in the Blazers, even though I've written the Blazers, which is one thing, but because I'm acting in it, it's a totally different experience. Like, it's like I'm not even the writer. You're in a completely different zone as an actor than you are as a writer or director. Yeah. Do you have aspirations to direct theater or to write plays?
I did direct once. I directed My Fair Lady at Showplace a few years back. And I liked it. I prefer the acting part, but I would probably try directing again. I like being able to do all sides of theater. So I've had the luxury of playing in a pit, conducting the pit orchestra, and also being on stage. So I've done the three, which is kind of fun to do, because you can see how each side works. So, like when you're conducting a show, you know how the actors feel if you've done acting before. So you can be a little more sympathetic to what they're going through. And now the words a little more and help them as much as you can if you've experienced it. So, yeah. Right. As far as, by the way, the most difficult roles, I'm not sure of a specific role, but I find anything that involves being part of a chorus to be very difficult. And that is, it's a lot of hard work. You have to put in more hours than anyone else. And it's amazing to watch. Anyone that's been in a chorus, I have the utmost respect for, because it's all choreography, a lot of dancing, a lot of singing. You have to do everything and just love doing it. And it's really hard, I find.
Harder than being the lead actor?
I think so, for sure. Yeah.
Wow. Do you have any, like you've been now acting for 25 years maybe, somewhere in that, like,
yeah.
Anything that sticks out in your mind that happened that was unusual, or anything you remember that happened that was like one-of-a-kind experience?
I think there's so many out here for sure. One that I remember is, I think it was on the right road to Pontypool. They were carrying chickens out to the market, and the chicken laid an egg upside down. I guess that was sunny side up, I don't know. But he literally, they brought the chicken upside down, the egg flew up in the air, and so he must have been in the process, she must have been in the process of laying. Anyway, that was fascinating.
Yeah, from a scientific, even from a scientific point of view, the kind of
Yeah, I don't know
acceleration and the velocity of that egg going out.
Yeah. But, yeah. Anything involving animals is usually fun too.
Yeah, well, the fourth line would have a few animal stories,
Yes.
that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Have you ever completely dried up on stage where you don't know what's next or anything like that?
I hope that didn't just jinx me.
That's terrible. When you talk to actors about their lines and forgetting lines, it is like a jinx. If you talk, we're so superstitious. If somebody even mentions, "Oh, how do you remember all those lines? Don't you forget them sometimes?" "Oh no, I'm going to forget them tonight."
Yeah, I know. So we'll hope that doesn't happen. I find that the only time you tend to forget your lines is if there's two ways that's happened to me in the past. And one is you're thinking about it too much. If you think about, how do I memorize these? How does
do
one
this?
actually memorize words? If that enters your head as you're walking on stage, good night. You're not gonna. And the other one is if it can happen where something distracting happens somewhere that just throws you out of rhythm just for a bit. It can throw you. But I don't. Oh, there was one time. Yes, there was one time we were frozen here. Maybe you were leading into this, I don't know. It was on the right road to El Dorado.
On El Dorado? Oh, is that your
El
brother?
Dorado, yes. So it was a scene with Bo Dixon, my brother Justin, and myself. And we were out here, and for some reason I got tripped up on a line. I kept saying, "Oh, let's just listen to Pooh Bah," whatever Pooh Bah says. And I'm only supposed to say that once, but I kept kind of repeating it because it was looping. And Bo was in a different area that he normally is. Like he was supposed to be on this side, he was on this side. So that threw Justin off. And then he kept hearing things, and then Justin didn't know what he was doing, which is not uncommon. But he literally on stage whispered these words to me: "Get me out of here." So I literally did get him out of there by saying, "Charlie, let's just go." And we laughed. And everyone was laughing backstage. And I knew I was coming on to the next scene. I thought, what information did I miss in that last scene that I was supposed to say that might affect this coming scene? So I threw everything that I could from the last scene into the next scene to make it make sense. That was it. That was one great frozen time right there.
Do you talk about, I think we're almost done, but chemistry on stage between
Yes.
actors? Do you find like with some actors it's easier to work with than others, or is there such a thing as chemistry between actors? Or is it just, it's the same for everybody?
I think there is. I find it easy to work with most people on stage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's certainly chemistry off stage as well, but on stage I find it okay to work with anyone. But there's certain actors though that give you a lot of eye contact back, and I always find that helpful a lot of the time.
Right.
To say, okay, this guy's got my back, or this girl's got my back. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would say that. I like that.
Yeah, they say that's one of the hardest things to do on stage is just to do nothing, just to listen and look at somebody.
It is. I mean, one thing I try to do is that if another actor's having like a funny line or something important to the play, and it's their moment, I try and make sure that I am as still as possible to make sure that I don't draw focus away from that moment.
So you don't go,
Right. Yeah. So that's one I think probably the biggest thing in acting I always like is let other people have their moment and be sure to not overdo it to put the focus on yourself. Yeah.
so basically you're a nice guy.
I try to be nice.
Good, I think, are we good, Lindy? Is that good? Thanks so much, Mark.
Thank you. everyone, and enjoy the show.